Hello, everybody. It's me, Roscoe, and welcome to the latest episode of the Kings of Anglia Fan Social, the show where the KOA share their thoughts on all things town. And of course, we're proudly sponsored by Molecular. I think I can say that just about. And Stardust Spirits, two great local companies in Suffolk supporting the podcast. But yes, we're here to bring you another show off the back of the West Brom win, back to winning ways after two disappointing defeats. I'm joined by two fine gentlemen in the King of North, John Watson and Steve, who's making his debut on the Fan Social, but he's also been making some good appearances on game day so far this season in France to... Did I see you in Austria? Well, you actually... No, you went in France, were you? You were in Austria.
Aberdeen. In Austria. I didn't make France. That one I missed, unfortunately.
That's fine, mate, but you had Austria. But as you're speaking, how are you, my friend? Great to have you on.
Good. Really looking forward to it. Enjoy watching the show. Be nice to put part of it. Thanks.
Nice one, my friend. Always good. And the King of North, John Watson. This just brings me good memories of lockdown days. Obviously, it wasn't great memories on what's going on in the world, but just chatting online. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, mate. Good to be back on. It's been a while. Nothing's changed here. I'm sitting with a dog with a ball in his mouth, making funny noises. So if I keep pressing mute and forget to unmute, it's because the dog's going mental with the squeaky ball next to me. So just like back in the day, really, isn't it? It's been a while. So yeah, good to be on. All things well here. Yeah, good to be talking town.
Top man. And yeah, good old Ziggy. Remember, Ziggy had a few appearances as well back in the day. So yeah, love that. Got a message already from Ben, all the way from Sydney. Good morning. Ben, let us know what time it is. It must be 6 a.m. or something crazy there because the time difference is actually, isn't it Thursday as well in Australia? So love that. You're muted, John.
I think it's close to 12 hours. Certainly is New Zealand at the moment, 12 hours, I think.
Yeah.
Sydney might not be as much, might be 10 hours, something like that.
So yeah, crazy. But yeah, let us know, Ben. But let's discuss, boys. We're just going to quickly bring our snap thoughts on the West Brom game. Of course, the main flagship show, we spoke about it on there, but it's always good to talk about a win. Steve, how do you sort of reflect on that? You know, a few days removed, your sort of one-word review of the 1-0 win over the Baggies?
Solid. I think it's solid all round. Kept a clean sheet, bagged the goal, 3 points. That's it. That's all you want. If we do that for the rest of the season, you're right.
Yeah, clean sheet is always good. And yeah, it wasn't much to talk about. You know, we got our goal. Jack Clark off the bench. John, once again, super sub. You were there as well, which is always good to see you there with one of your daughters, Jess. They enjoyed it, of course. Yeah, thoughts on that?
Yeah, my one-word summary would be required. I thought having lost the previous two games, we desperately needed those 3 points just to balance things up a little bit more because like no points from a week would have been, well, from the 3 games would have been disastrous, really. I don't want to be over dramatic, but in the grand scheme of things, it would have been really, really disappointing. So required or needed would sum it up. As you said, like, I think it was one of those games that we won't go down in memory as a classic, will it? But we did exactly what we needed to. I think McKenna was right in his post-match comments when he was talking about perhaps it's what the group needed to go and earn that clean sheet, go and earn that hard-fought draw against a team who showed very little ambition for me. I thought they lacked any urgency until we scored, and then they suddenly stopped time wasting and started trying to play a little bit more rapid. I think the other thing to pull from that game for me was, you know, when you talk about fine margins in games, I didn't realise what a good shout it was for a penalty. When I've seen that back from the side angle, because the defender, I've forgotten who it was, but has 2 hands on Philogene and gives him a proper shove, isn't it? Yeah, if it was shoulder to shoulder, and you think Philogene is quite slight and quite light and does go down for me too easily a lot of the time, although he gets straight back up a lot of the time as well. But I think that was one of those ones when I've seen it again, I thought, God, we should have had a pen there. And then I tell you what, the more I've seen the foul on Akpom, the more that looks worse. The worse that looks, it looks like a horrendous tackle for me as well. So, and one of my best mates is a baggy, and he sent me a message afterwards saying, "Don't know why the goal didn't stand at the when they scored at the death, really. And I was saying, well, if you start wanting to unpick the game like that, we should have had a pen, and you should have had somebody sent off. So, all in all, though, it was a good result, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. As you say, required. Yeah, definitely. And Steve, I don't know why I haven't put this down in my notes, but of course, McKenna after the game talking about the atmosphere being very difficult and flat. It was flat. We spoke about it on the main podcast, but I want to get your thoughts on it. In the stands, what's your when you saw them comments, how you feeling about it?
I kind of got it. It was pretty flat, but then in context, lunchtime kickoffs tend to be flat. Experience. Games under the lights always seem to have a better atmosphere. You get a 7:45, 8 o'clock kickoff, and I always find the atmosphere is better. Even derby matches aren't as exciting at 12:30 than they would be at sort of 8 o'clock. You turn up, you've kind of got up, you've had breakfast, you make your way to the ground. Certainly for John, if you're turning up, you're going up the crack of dawn, I thought, so you're half asleep by the time you get there. And things like that. And there's a little bit of nervousness to it, a little bit, because, basically after the previous two matches, and certainly after the Charlton match, there was a little bit of a capitulation. You feel that they kind of just sort of went away and conceded 3 very easily. There was fine margins, and had we conceded early, then he's quite right. There probably would have been a bit more toxic. And it's also probably the first time we've really experienced a bit of booing and that at the end of a match, because we all accepted, majority of us accepted, last season as a one-off. It's we take it on the chin and move on. There will be an element who probably don't see it that way, and that's fine. But probably after the Charlton match, there was that element of, oh bloody hell, people booed us, and we haven't been given that warm round of applause after a match. So, that probably opened his eyes a little bit to that as well. And that might just be a little response to that. But, I'm not too fussed by it. It is what it is. We move on, get a win, and then we go on Saturday against QPR.
Yeah, things can change very quickly because, obviously the atmosphere, John, for the derby game was amazing because, we won the game finally, and the scenes, you saw the club were all together. And then the Charlton game was just a completely different situation. There was boos, and I'm sure a lot of people were leaving, before the full-time whistle as well. And then you had the West Brom game. And, I can imagine you have to leave at like 7, maybe 6 o'clock in the morning from Donny to get to Portman Road for a midday kickoff.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, to be fair. I left at 10 to 8, which I was there for. On a good run, I can be there in 3 hours. So, we were there for about 11, so it wasn't too bad. But I thought the atmosphere was just a little bit flat generally, and I don't think the West Brom fans had much to sing about the way they were played. And although you could hear, away fans are always, when you're in the away end, you're always a bit more vocal, aren't you? But they weren't overly loud, and I thought we were very quiet. And it didn't take much for us all to get a little bit too much, nerves going. And because we didn't score early on, it just, we were a little bit flat. So overall, I don't think anybody should really kind of be worried about McKenna's comments, because the atmosphere wasn't great. But I don't think that was necessarily aimed at him. It certainly wasn't aimed at him. There's the only real negative I heard was very much about when Hurst went off. I thought, can you hear the balls in the background? Sorry, that's not even the dog in the room. That's the dog in the other room. The puppy who's got another ball. I apologise. I just think Hurst got a little bit of. I heard a few boos when Hurst was being taken off. Whether that was kind of some people booing that the substitutions were a little bit late, I've heard and read. But for me, I can understand in McKenna's post-match comments, he said about obviously the Schmonik's injury and the Akpom injury made him make his subs at a different point. So he had to hold on a bit longer than perhaps he would have wanted to make those final changes. And you reflect on that and go, fair enough. That's a decent comment there. So That's why he's paid the big money to make those decisions. But like for me, booing your own players is never a thing. Like no. Especially at home when a lot of these players have got so much credit in the bank. I mean, I know a lot of them are still fairly new as well, but McKenna and his team deserve us to, if you are getting a little bit frustrated, just to take a step back and think. Let's be fair, I've seen a lot worse than our performances at the moment. And anybody who's followed Town for a long time, like the majority of us, know that the last 3 years, well, 2 of the last 3 years, when we were seeing all those victories in League One and the Championship, that's not how it always is as an Ipswich fan. So I think anybody with a little bit of grey like me, you certainly has seen a lot of worse performances and far less quality in the side than what we've currently got.
Definitely. And we've got a message here actually from Simon. I'm going to bring this up. And this is Adi here as well. I totally agree with you, Ben, about Hurst. Who's Ben? I think you meant to say John. It's not Ben Diath's not here. Good old Ben Diath. But yeah, this is Simon here. Got a bit of a problem with the overuse of the word toxic in describing fans' reactions to frustrating performances. It's not toxic. Maybe we ought to bear in mind poor Sheffield Wednesday and Morecambe fans if we really want to understand toxicity at football grounds. Because, yeah, they're it's good to see Sheffield Wednesday, bloody hell, Ross. The other fans won't be happy with that. It's good that they're somewhat getting stuff sorted. But yeah, they're going to have a tough season, aren't they, to stay up. And then Simon English also had a listen to Canary Call with the Nodge owner tonight. Was absolute car crash. Makes me so grateful for our chairman and game changer. Very true. Because yeah, I haven't listened to it. I will probably, because you got to, just to get some insight on that. But yeah, got another message in. Well, this is a good opportunity, boys, to segue onto a big discussion and a big chat the last few days. This is from Harvey. Good old Harvey. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Looking forward to the discussion, guys. Hopefully you can help me cope with the McKenna rumours. I know things are not great right now, but I can't imagine the Ipswich Town side without him now. So, Steve, Kieran McKenna has been linked to many clubs over the last few years because of his great job he's done at Ipswich Town. Rangers was the one Scottish team a few weeks back. Now it's Celtic, who saw Brendan Rodgers walk, and Martin O'Neill is currently in interim charge. They're playing tonight, actually, I think, against Falkirk. But yeah, Kieran McKenna is one of the names mentioned. How does that make you feel, my friend?
Yeah, I think autumn, I sort of alluded to in the summer, that the autumn is the time you sort of wonder if clubs will start coming because it starts sacking season, and it depends on how he starts the league, and he's done okay, and we're in generally playing reasonable football, which attracts clubs. There's obviously not really been much in the way of a link in England, but certainly the Rangers job he was strongly linked with, and the Celtic one, across the city. And to be honest, of the two, Celtic would be the one you'd want to take in their current position. I think they've won 19 of the last 25 Scottish Premier League. So, it's almost that you feel that they've got to. That's the one problem I think you would have if he did go there. He would actually, you're expected to win the league, probably a cup along the way. The only way I think he could actually improve Celtic in his position there is Europe. He would, if he could actually make progress in Europe, that's the only way you can really do an awful lot with Celtic. That's how I see them, because over the last 6 years they've won the Premier League. That's it. That's a tick in the box. So therefore, the only way you can really improve on your predecessors, like Ange, is to actually go off and do something strong in Europe, which might be the challenge that he fancies. But I'm not convinced. I have to admit, I'm not convinced it's what he would do or he'll go there. But only time will tell. Certainly, as I say, I think that would be a much better position than Rangers. If you look at our budget, I think is even considerably bigger than theirs in terms of spending. I think I spent minimal, maybe 15, 20 million in the summer. It's hard to tell because we get all these undisclosed, don't you? But a lot of the time, I think with Celtic, they just have to improve a little bit, to trickle a little bit in. They don't have to spend hard to win the league, as it seems. Certainly, the way that sort of Rangers have been in the last few years, where they just keep shooting themselves in the foot with their appointments and stuff like that. So, it'll be an interesting sort of week or so. until Celtic appoints someone. But yeah, I'm hoping it isn't him. But I can understand if he did go there, and fair play to him.
I feel like he's still got unfinished business at Ipswich. He obviously got us to the
Straight
Premier
away.
League, which is incredible. But then, relegation, and this year, I think he's still building this team. Obviously, Celtic will have to pay a bit of comp as well because Kieran McKenna signed a 4-year deal last summer, John. How are you feeling about this? Because, in the first Premier, when we got promoted to the Premier League, there was Chelsea, there was Brighton, Man United. Nothing came out of that because he signed a new deal with us. But yeah, Celtic, how does that make you feel? He's obviously odds-on favourite. There's Ange has been linked as well, and there's other managers involved. What do you reckon?
Yeah, real mixed feelings, to be honest. First and foremost, I love Kieran McKenna and what he's done for the club. So that always has to be nailed up to the mast there. I guess that summer when we got promoted, and especially when it was the Brighton job and the Chelsea job, that I sat by my phone, look refreshing and kind of panicking what would happen. And I was so good because it was such a magical time. And I thought he did really, he conducted himself with dignity, and he ended up getting a new deal. And the same again this summer, he signed a new contract, and, the people come knocking. It should be a sign of flattery, I guess, when people are linked with our players, or think people are linked with our staff and our manager. I'm not as worried as I was, but maybe that's just because I'm a little bit more used to the fact that we've had speculation in the past. I do think there's some more credible kind of connections or opportunities for him with Celtic. Apparently some of his family are Celtic supporters. If you read, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just what I've read. Might be just speculation, but I guess you can see how taking a job like Celtic and being there for 3 or 4 years then gives you a step up to be potentially a higher up Premier League manager, which we all know that's where he wants to be long term. But I do think, like you said, Ross, he's in for this for the long haul. I think he's part of the project. I know just because he's helped his own training ground doesn't mean he's going to always, be at the club and stuff. But he has got a lot of things that he wants out of this club. His family is settled. He's happy. He's had full support from the ownership group and the chairman. He's had financial backing. He's brought in people he's wanted over the various transfer windows. Obviously, we miss out on some as well because not everything's perfect. But I would say he's been well looked after. He's had 2 good bumper pay rises and good contracts, which obviously brings a bit of security for the club in sense of compensation. So I can see why he might be tempted, but I think he would walk away almost. If he left us now, it would definitely feel like unfinished business, and it would definitely feel like it would be disappointing. And I don't think it's going to happen, if I'm being honest. I hope I'm wrong. Sorry, I hope I'm right. I hope I'm not wrong. I really don't want the guy to leave. So I think the point to really, really make is that there's people in the media who were talking about it. And as far as we know, there's nothing concrete in it yet at all, So let's not try to get too carried away, because we've all wasted so much nervous energy over things that don't happen in life. So hopefully it's all just talk, and hopefully they've got somebody identified. And it's an easy link to make, isn't it? And you can see why somebody, I think was it McCoist or somebody like that said, "Oh, McKenna should be at the top of the list," and that kind of thing. I guess with bookies putting them high up the odds, that's only because somebody maybe chumped 50 quid on them, 100 quid, because a small bet, well, a fairly big bet for me personally, but a few small bets here or there can swing markets massively, can't they? So, let's not get too carried away, and hopefully Kieran's here to see the job through, really, and get us back, hopefully, whether it's this season or next, back to the Premier League.
I'm just hoping they're recycling the Rangers thing to Celtic. Yeah, it's just it's a bit of a lazy sort of take on it from bookies early doors, which is McKenna's probably, if you want the Rangers to go to Celtic, type of thing. That's how I'm hoping that the bookies are seeing it. It's just a bit of lazy, just chuck his name in early.
Yeah. The thing is, he's got his. Sorry, guys. I'll let you just chat. I'll just here.
Sorry, Ross. I was just going to say, if you look at who Rangers ended up going for, Danny Role, you would say McKenna stock's still higher than Danny Role's because of what he's achieved. So, using that as a yardstick for potential step-ups, I think McKenna would, if he got a third promotion with Ipswich in 4 years, that would be a really good thing on his CV, isn't it? He's proved he can do it more than once from the Championship to the Premier League, and that probably gives him that kudos and wider respect again across the footballing community. So I don't think he has to jump because things aren't terrible. I don't think anybody would say we've had the season we all hoped would. The start of the season, what we're about a quarter of the way through now. I think we all expected us to be doing a little bit better. None of us expected quite as much change in the summer, but whether he's got everybody he wanted and whether he got exactly the players he wanted, but he will have had the say on all of them, the final say. He would have. There's no way it's been done to him. You don't bring in a manager in and give him the big contract to keep him to stay and then clip his wings by saying, I'm going to bring in the players. That's nonsense, isn't it? So
unless you're not your Forest.
Yeah, true. But hopefully we're not. Yeah, sorry, I'll shut up now. There are clubs out there like that. I guess the point is, though, Steve, we run really well, and I trust the club to do things the right way.
I think you're right, 100%. He's got quality backers, people behind him in the. He's not, I'll throw the Nottingham Forest one. That's just a bit of a throwaway joke, but that's where you want to jump. Maybe when you've got another club come in, go before he pushes you up, because you don't know when he'll sack you. Here, it's not quite a job for life, but there's a little bit of that Bobby Robson feel, which is, you've got a job, for as long as you want it. It's there. You got a relaxed approach from Ashton, the owners. I think, even if we didn't get promoted this season, I don't think there's been any pressure on him from the owners or anything like that. I think you'd be comfortable going into the next summer with another go at it. So that's my take on it from that. And, from a league point of view, until you played everybody once, you just don't know how the season's really set. We've still got to play the likes of Coventry, which is just before Christmas. That'll be the point for people like Coventry, who are starting off really well, that they haven't had their little wobble. Maybe we've had a little bit of a slowish start, and then we can go on a little bit of a run now to Christmas, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully that is the case. And Kieran McKenna's got his press conference tomorrow, so I'm sure that question will get asked, and he'll probably squash it early doors, or he may not even say anything. So, this saga could be over by the time you may listen to this podcast on audio. So, we shall see. David's gone here. If he was to go, who would you like to come in? I think we had the sort of same discussion when he was linked to Rangers, but is it anybody that comes to mind? We don't really want to go too in depth with this, but for me, I can't really think of anybody at the top of my head right now, because I'm settled. I'm happy with Kieran McKenna, so I don't need to think about anybody else. But anybody that comes to mind, anybody you're like, oh, it'd be nice.
Knudsen, I think of someone I've mentioned before, of Bodo Glimt. Similar sort of style of play, he uses high press, sort of similar formation. So you wouldn't have to redo the whole squad again, because you kind of want somebody who's actually going to use all the players you've got and not want to change the whole system, and all your wingers are no good to you because he doesn't play wingers, that type of thing. So Knudsen would be somebody I'd have, because I actually quite like Danny Roll before he went to Rangers. Maybe he would have been sort of somebody I'd have mentioned at this juncture for it. But
foreign manager, which we've not had before, have we? So
no.
I would have gone Danny Roll 3 weeks ago, if we had to have it. But I guess you'd probably be looking at Lima Senior or Michael Carrick would be probably where I would look. Not convinced by either 100%, but both play good football and bring the kind of similar young statesman like Kieran is, well-spoken, experienced for their ages. But like you said, Ross, let's not. I don't really want to think about it. It's like, no,
let's not. Yeah, No, I'm sure Aston though has probably got people in mind. I think like any
That's it.
club, yeah.
They should have a plan. They should have a plan just in case, shouldn't they? And
Yeah.
they had to think about it probably 2 summers ago, and they had to think about it in the summer. So it'd be naive not to, just the way you're watching in transfer windows, who's moving who's the hot young properties, which players are starting to come into form. You don't try to sign everybody that you're looking at, but clubs need to be keeping an eye on potentials, don't they? So there will be a plan, but hopefully we never see it come into fruition.
Definitely. And yeah, Ben's just gone. He's just chucked another name, another connection to McKenna, McKenna Celtic, which not for me. Not for me. I think once again it's just that link to McKenna, but yeah, not for me. And David also said John Carrick or Rossinia. I think Liam Rossinia would be probably up there for me as well. Of course, a former loanee. I don't think that really matters, but it would be an interesting one. As we're talking about this, boys, I want to just get your current mood. How are you feeling? Steve. A week removed from the disappointing, defeat against Charlton. It was, I remember leaving the ground going, well, that was rubbish. How are you feeling? We've seen Town, of course, get back to winning ways, as we discussed earlier. We, of course, head to QPR this weekend. How are you feeling, 11 games in?
I think, yes, solid start. Go back to that word. I think, anyone who thinks we're just going to drop down the league and then race off and be 10 points clear after at this point isn't going to happen, because we've still got a little bit of baggage, I think, from losing so frequently last season. So you just kind of like get that off your back. I think the away matches we haven't quite kicked on yet. That's the thing we've got to fix going forward. Home form is generally okay. Sheffield United was brilliant. The Norwich match, great. So home form is okay, but you do need to get that away form sorted and start to pick up points away from home, because that's your bread and butter. That's going to be the thing that will get you promoted, for me.
Yeah, because last time, of course, in the Championship, I think we got some really good away wins, didn't we? Some sort of memorable ones that got us over the line in the end. John, how are you feeling about it all? We've got a message here from Stuart, who bit of interesting one here. McKenna's CV has gone down, so why would anyone want him at the moment? Our play seems to have gone slower and too many passes across and so on. I will admit, definitely the Charlton game, we were just too slow, weren't we? And even the West Brom game, I felt, it wasn't the tippy-tappy, what we've been used to. But I think this team is still growing. I hate use the word gel. I won't use it. But yeah, I think the team is still trying to, get the full gear. But we're now at the end of October, John. We need to, see a good style of play really out there. Because we know the style of play under McKenna, but I think players now need to really step up and, go on and push on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, to be honest, fairly level. I was more disappointed a few weeks ago, even though we haven't done as well in the last 2 weeks. We've had those 2 defeats. But maybe I was a bit naive, thinking we would start the season a bit better than we did. So actually, I think that the problem for me at the moment is the league's a bonkers league. There's only probably Coventry, really, who have had any consistency. Even Middlesbrough, you would say, before that. And they've now started having a bit of a up and down spell. So, it's fascinating that the 3 relegated teams, I think, is it Leicester in 10th at the highest place? They were in 12th, For the 3 teams to come down, for not one of them to be in the top 6 at this point, that can't happen very often, I wouldn't have thought. So that probably shows you that everybody's beating everybody, and everybody's drawing with each other. The results have been really all over the place. Millwall have had form, and they got beaten at home the other day, So I think it's the league's there for somebody to stamp their authority on and to kind of move into the next gear. And let's be fair, the first half against Charlton, whilst we all agree the second half was just not what we were wanting and not good enough, the first half, if we played like that every week, you'd be going for 2 halves. You might be frustrated that we're not making those clear-cut chances and having the goals necessarily, but we were playing really, really well. We were absolutely on top in that game. So, and without rehashing every game, I was standing at Borough, and if Hurst scored his penalty, and if his goal on the line wasn't cleared, so his header on the line wasn't. Sorry, I'll say that in English. If his header that was cleared off the line was a different story, then if we'd gone in 1-0 rather than conceding in the 47th minute or whatever it was, that would have been a very different outcome as well. So, still fine margins. Yeah, I agree. We're not doing anywhere near as much as we hope we'll do, but do I think we can get there? Yes. Am I as confident we'll get there? Perhaps no. But still hopeful, because there's still lots of talent in our squad. And I've seen McKenna get a tune out of less players, so let's hope we can get them starting to click. Let's not use the gel word. Click better.
Click, yeah.
And just
I think that's the new word, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's use click instead of gel. I just want to see whoever's playing the 10, if we've got any 10s not injured, start linking up with the striker and just kind of progressing some of those partnerships. It's good to see Davis really looking better again, but there's lots of players who we need them to find a new level of consistency, and let's start having 7s and 8s every game rather than a 7 1 week, then a 4 or a 5, and then maybe a couple of 6s. We just seem to be too hit and miss at the moment. We need some consistency.
I think
definitely. Yeah, Tammy. Sorry, Steve.
Sorry, I was going to say, for me, this might be the opportunity to give Nunes that run as a more forward of the three midfielders, and sort of maybe slightly 4-3-3 formation a little bit, with him playing a little bit more, because he seemed to link reasonably well when he played it. I quite liked that position for him, because he's more attacking minded and a little bit more creative than Akpom and Sammy Schmolix in that role. They're more strikers, whereas Nunes being a midfielder and a creator, it probably suits him a little bit more. Maybe that's where we'll be playing on Saturday. We'll see.
Yeah, but, it'd be interesting to see how that pans out, because Jack Taylor did really well when he started on Saturday in centre mid, but traditionally you think he might be the one who might play a bit higher up the pitch as well, because he's got that in his game that might link the midfield to the kind of the attack a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see who he gives the 10 to, because I know we'll talk about Sammy in a minute, and probably about Akpom as well. But there's going to be an opportunity for somebody, and whether that's Nunes, as you said, Steve, or whether that's Egley maybe gets moved into the 10.
Or even McAteer.
Yeah, I mean, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Nunes and Taylor both feature a little bit more, and maybe one of them playing the 10, depending on the opposition, Maybe even see Jens playing the 10 with Matasiwa and Taylor behind them.
Nah, I can't. I don't know. I don't think he's really played it before, but you never know, just to experiment. And if we're lacking options, then potentially, but I think he'll be probably down the list of potential for 10s, because, of course, Egley can play there. And as you mentioned, Steve, I think Casey McAteer can play there if needed as well. So, but we might as well talk about it, boys, because, Sonny Spodix posted on his socials, he's undergone surgery on his knee, which, he came off injured once again on the weekend. Just can't catch a break, can he? I think I jinxed him in pre-season. I said he was going to be top goal scorer. I mentioned this on the flagship show, and I went, I've jinxed him, because he's just getting setback after setback. In the previous trip with Ireland, I think actually the last 2 international breaks, he's had to pull out because of an injury, which is a shame, because we know he can be a threat at this level. And I think last year, even in the Premier League, I thought he did really well. But boys, it's disappointing to see. We're going to talk. Actually, John, you've got it in front of you. Mention what he sort of made another post on socials. I think it's more aimed at the Irish fans, because he's been getting a little bit of hate, actually.
Yeah, he said, "Thank you to on the mend after a minor knee op. Thank you for all the supportive messages. Also, thank you for the keyboard warriors that know more about my life and my situation than I do. last 2 weeks have been nothing shy of ridiculous. The amount of hate messages me and my family received over the recent international football concerns. Injury comes with playing games, and so rest is so important. Otherwise, things like this happen. Question my ability and performances, but never my professionalism. Looking to be back ASAP. So, I think for me, that certainly is aimed more at the Irish fans, or a small element of the Irish fans, I would imagine, because I've never once heard a Town fan comment on his effort. I've never heard anybody slate him for anything. We might be disappointed he hasn't scored more goals. Maybe even disappointed he doesn't play in the position that he has for when he's had success in the past. But for me, whether it was in the Premier League when he was playing kind of left 10, or whether he's playing in the 10, for us now, his work rate and his energy and his professionalism are up there with anybody else. And, we were talking just before we came on air, Ross, about what he also brings to the team, as well as his energy. Is he seems to be the one who's mentoring Eggerly and kind of giving him when to kind of guidance, when to push on, when to make that kind of press happen. And we lost a fair few experienced players over the summer. Sammy Morsey at the top of that list. So to have someone like Schmodix, who is an international and who has played for us in the Premier League, to be stepping up and being a leader on the pitch, I think there's different hats people wear, and that's one of the hats as well. So we obviously wish Sammy the speedy and full recovery, because we want him to see him back fit and well. I've got nothing but positives to say about his effort and his work rate. I enjoy seeing him play. I'll never forget him scoring at Spurs away last season. That was a terrific away day. And he's given us lots of moments in the Premier League already last year, and I'm sure he'll come good. So rest up and get well soon, Sammy, and don't listen to any of the keyboard warriors.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Steve, he still needs to score at Portland Road, doesn't he? He hasn't scored. He scored all his goals away. Hopefully he'll be able to do that. But yeah, another minor setback for him. It's it's disappointing, because he actually spoke to AJ in the summer. Said, I've never been injured. I'm not an injury-prone player, and sadly that maybe backfired on him actually, because now he's had all these injuries. But yeah, he's a player that I think he's going to be so important to this team. It's just getting that right position and just getting fully fit.
Yeah, I do agree with a lot of what John just said. I don't think he's truly playing in the position that truly suits him. The goals were scored for Blackburn up top, but he has got his head down. As far as I can see, he grafts. He doesn't shy from putting himself out there. And I think we do lack some characters in the team, some leaders. With before you had Luongo and Morsey and Chaplin and people like that, you saw as leaders on the pitch. I don't quite see that around it, but as John said, you can see this the way he's working with Wegley in terms of getting him out there and sort of giving him a few pointers. It's something that I think the guy's a really decent guy, and he's doing the best he can from that position. Hasn't quite worked for him, but the Man City game, I'll throw that one in from last season, where he sort of was playing off that left-hand side of the left 10 and made a great break through the centre to score the goal that gave us that lead, which then came back and bit us quite quickly after that. It woke Man City up. But, he gave us some really nice moments last year, some of our better moments. So, I hope people don't get on his back, because I don't think it's particularly fair on him as a character.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll get on to our potential starting 11, boys, for the QPR game, because the number 10 will be very interesting, because of course Atpom came off injured as well. So yeah, we'll be asking you guys who you go for the number 10. But let's have a little break, pause in play to do a bit of funny stuff, a bit of the strike, as Steve and John go head to head. Of course, play at home, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know your answers. So John, Steve, don't look in the comments if you have got the comments up.
No.
We've got 5 questions plus a tiebreaker as standard. And then, we'll see who's going to be champion of the strike this week. So first question is on Christian Walton, who, of course, made his 100th Town appearance against West Brom, kept a clean sheet, which is good. It was good to see him back. Of course, Alex Palmer's injury gives an opportunity for Christian Walton to play, which is good. Didn't really have much to do, really, Christian, did he? So not much to really discuss there. But Christian Walton, how many clean sheets has he kept in 100 games so far? So there's no options. You just have to basically guess, and whoever gets closest gets the point. If you get it bang on, boys, double the points. But 100 games, Christian Walton. So you've got one clean sheet there with the West Brom game. How many clean sheets do you reckon he has kept in 100 Town games so far? Hopefully many more to come. But yeah, what do you reckon, boys? Of course, there was a lot in the League One season, Championship season. Well, he did play actually, did he? So because likely played. What do you reckon then, boys?
For me, 32, 1 in 3.
32. Okay, John.
I've gone lower. I've said 18, Ross. Just
18.
Because, yeah.
He kept 23 in the League One season. You're wrong.
Well,
you're wrong.
I was going to say 18 and the 23. We had so many games when we conceded. So yeah, I'm out of this already.
Sorry, John, but I'm just going to take you out of that straight away. So, Steve, you are the closest. You haven't got it wrong. You haven't got it right. I mean, but it's 42. So you got the 2 right. But yeah, it was close. But yeah, 42. So not too bad. Of course, he kept the clean sheet in the Premier League last year for the Chelsea game. So there we go. So that's fair enough, John. There was a few moments in the League One season. Of course, I think on his debut, he conceded 5, didn't he? In that game against Bolton. So it wasn't a great debut for him, but he obviously had a very good League One season. So yeah, sorry, John. Steve does get the point. And sorry for jumping on you there. I just like 18? 18? But yeah.
No, mate, I deserve that.
Yeah, it's fine. Who else said in the comments? I think that was David. He went 24, so that's probably I still think that's a bit too low. But 32, I think, is a solid answer there, Steve. So 1-0 to you. Question 2, and the next questions are on birthdays this week for former Town players. And question 2 is on Kevin Horlock, who, of course, is now manager at Malden and Tiptree. That is not the answer. The question, sorry. What squad number did he wear, though, during his time at Town? Was it 11, 16, or 21? Kevin Horlock turns 53 on Saturday. So when we're at QPR, he'll be celebrating his 53rd birthday. But yeah, he's at Malden and Tiptree now as their manager. And yeah, that wasn't going to be the question because that would have been a giveaway quickly. Like, who does he manage? And then I mentioned who he managed already. But yeah, squad number time for Kevin Horlock. What's the squad number during his time at Town? 11, 16, or 21, boys? What do you reckon?
Maybe you can see it one. 21.
21. Okay, John.
21.
21. You're both wrong. It was actually 11.
Yeah.
So there we go. 11 was Kevin Horlock's number at Town. Question 3 is on a legendary player for Town, Stern John. Remember him? Who had a loan spell at Town. He celebrates his birthday. He's 49 on Thursday. Good old Stern John. But he's the current manager of which Caribbean nation? Is that Barbados, Dominican Republic, or St. Lucia? So yeah, Stern John, of course, obviously a Trinidad and Tobago legend. He just scored 1 goal for Town on his loan spell. I think it was from Crystal Palace he was on loan. But yeah, Stern John, 49 this week. What do you reckon, boys? Barbados, Dominican Republic, or St. Lucia? Who does he manage? St. Lucia. Yes, you are both correct. He is the manager of St. Lucia. So he's 2-1 to Steve, going into question 4. And this question is on another legendary loan player, Fraser Richardson, who, I don't know if you remember him. He had a loan spell, I think, in the 2013-14 season. And he had a loan spell at Town from which club? Was it Leeds United, Middlesbrough, or Southampton? He turns 43 today. So happy birthday to Fraser Richardson. If you can remember Fraser, I think he was a right back, wasn't he? Or a right midfielder. But yeah, one of Mick McCarthy's many loans. But yeah, was it Leeds, Middlesbrough, or Southampton? He was on loan at Town. But yeah, I think don't know how many games. I think he only played like 7 or 8 games. But I needed players who celebrated their birthday this week, and he was one of them. So I was clutching at straws, I have to admit. But what do you reckon then, boys?
Leeds for me. Whether you
Leeds?
probably blurred.
I've gone for
Borough. Oh, this makes it interesting because it is Borough, John. It is Borough. He did have a spell at Leeds though, Steve, and he also played it for Southampton. So I tricked you a little bit there. I did all these 3 clubs he's played for, and yeah, Middlesbrough was the lone spell. So it is 2-2. It's Desmond going into question 5, the final question, and you can somewhat say this play is controversial these days because of what's happened in the summer. And that is Amari Hutchinson because he celebrates his 22nd birthday tomorrow, Thursday. How many goals did Amari score for Town in 82 games? So if you get it bang on, double the points, closest to the correct answer, gets the point. But yeah, it's an interesting one about Amari, boys, isn't it? Because of what happened in the summer. How are you feeling about it? We won't discuss it too much because I'm sure it's been discussed. But, when you hear Amari's name, how you feel about it?
Disappointed. Because it hasn't really worked out for him as well.
Yeah.
So he's now on his 3rd manager and not starting for any of the 3. So
yeah.
I loved Amari, and I think imagine him being in the 10 now.
Yeah.
Imagine him being on the 10 now.
He'd be
and
a
he's sitting on the
perfect 10
bench.
for us.
I know he came on, but what a cracking little player. I just feel it's a bit of a waste, really.
But yeah. We've got, I thought, it's obviously had to be a question. So, how many goals, did he score in 82 games, boys? What do you reckon?
Going 14.
14?
Well,
13. Oh, John, you scribbled out, though. What did you scribble out originally?
Well, I started writing down 4 because I thought he scored 4 last year, but then I think it was actually only 3. So then I was thinking, no, it's the season before. I think he got 10. I think he got 10 in the championship. I can't remember if it's 13 or 14.
Yeah. Someone has got it bang on. And that man is Steve. It is 14. So there we go. Steve's got the point. So he makes it 4-2. So he has won as the original champion. But as always, Steve, there is a tiebreaker. So you're going to gamble, my friend?
Yeah, go for it.
Love it. Always got to gamble. Yes. Yeah, true. But yes, tiebreaker time is linked to QPR as we're going to about to preview the game. How many times have Town won at Loftus Road in 42 games? So John has to get it bang on to take the crown. Steve, still, you can still play. You can still guess yourself. You could make it even a bigger lead to walk away as the strike champion. But can John get it bang on? So 42 games, John, at Loftus Road. We haven't actually got a good record there, actually. We, of course, won there last time around. That's all right. We did win there once last season, and season, the promotion-winning season, Connor Chaplin scoring that goal to win 1-0. In 42 games, how many times have we won Loftus Road? What do you reckon, John?
I've gone for 18.
18. All right. And Steve, what do you reckon?
I'm going to go with 8. I think it's single figures. I've been there since about mid-80s when they plastic pitch. And I remember getting beat that day, and it never really got on much better after that until Connor Chaplin's goal.
Yeah, it's one of those, definitely bogey grounds. There was some good success in the 2000s, to be fair. I still remember there's one game I went to as a kid, Darren Curry scoring on his debut, a 4-2 win. I think there's a few others. But in 42 games, Ipswich Town have won 12 times. So close, John, but not close enough. But Steve has won overall speech, my friend.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well done, John. Fine margins. I'll use cliches like that.
Terrible.
Good management speech.
Always.
Congratulations,
Always.
Steve. Well played, mate.
Steve won. Love that. But yeah, there's as Nick Muller put in the chat, there's been many draws. There has been a lot of draws as well. Actually, let me quickly find the overall Normally I do have it actually written down, but this time around, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very disorganised, as I normally am. But yeah, 12 wins in total. I'm quickly going to get up the wins and draws as well. No, defeats and draws. Let me quickly get it up as I want to. Yes, so in total, there's been 30. No, the away games. 11. No, yeah, no. Where am I going here? 12 wins, 8 draws, and 22 defeats. So, 22 defeats, a lot of road. Hopefully, that won't be the case this weekend, boys. QPR, let's talk about them. The R's, the Hoops, they're ninth in the table. 5 wins, 3 draws, 4 defeats so far. How are you feeling for this one, John? They lost last time out against Derby, which is probably a disappointing defeat against the Rams, a 1-0 defeat there. They've had some good results. They've had some bad results. They beat Swansea. They lost against Millwall. They beat Bristol City. They've had some good results, but some bad results. They lost 7-1, of course, against Coventry, first games of the season. But yeah, thoughts on them?
I think a little bit like what I was saying earlier on, Ross, aren't they the typical Championship side? In the sense of a bit of everything on the day, can play really good football, often not quite consistent enough. I would settle for another 1-0, if I'm being honest. I would settle for a hard-fought, organised, similar kind of performance to West Brom. Clearly, I would prefer us to go and score 3, but, I don't know. I just think it's going to be probably a tight game. But we shouldn't be too worried about going there, I don't think. Maybe it's a chance for us to go and have our first away win of the season, really, and go and actually perform and get some points away from home. Not too worried. QPR are a funny side for me. They always have been over the years. Obviously memorable players at various points, but never quite really been that special. I fancy us for either a 1-0 or a 2-1. Fairly tight game, I would imagine. But yeah, let's see where it takes us.
Yeah, he's a tight pitch, and yeah, AD went Loftus Road, one of the worst away ends in my opinion. I don't think it's great. Like, you are really close to the pitch, so at least you're really close to the action. I remember when Connor Chaplin scored his goal, a few years back. It was like he was right, was able to celebrate with the fans, which is very good. But yeah, Steve, they've got a Frenchman in charge, Julian Stefan, I think. I'll probably completely butcher that. Stevan, I don't know. But yeah, he's a Frenchman who, of course, got appointed this summer because their previous manager decided to go to Leicester. He was like, I want to go on gardening leave, and went to Leicester. So yeah, he's had to build a little bit of the team this summer. They signed Richard Kone from Wickham. He's their striker up top. But yeah, what do you think about this game?
I think it's a bit going back to what John said earlier on about the way that this league looks. QPR ninth in the table, but they don't resonate with me. To be honest, when you've said it, I didn't quite realise they were ninth, because they just go about their business. They win some, they lose some. And as you say, they got absolutely spanked by Coventry earlier in the season. So fair play, they actually bounced back off that. But yeah, it's the sort of game I hope to win. But that's we've never been great at Loftus Road, the tight pitch and all that. And I just hope we get that the Chaplin type of moment where we just need to get that goal, preferably early, settle, bring them out, because they'll sit back on us and they'll counter us, even at home, I suspect. And I think that'll be the hard part for us, breaking teams down like this. So yeah, I think I'm hoping for a win, obviously, because I'll be going, and but a draw there wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It's a case of just now building that momentum away from home.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and this is a game I think you at the end of the season you look back on, and hopefully with promotion, and these are the sort of games you need to just get a good result. And yeah, I remember Connor Chapman's goal. It was just I think it was just like a really good clinical finish from him. But yeah, John, let's talk about the team because there's going to be some talking points. I'm hoping now McKenna will have a settled side now, but there's obviously some question marks, especially in the 10 position, or maybe even up front. Does Ivan Azon get another start here? And then, centre half, Kipre, Greaves. Do you, stick with Kipre or do you bring back Greaves? How are you feeling about it all, and who would you start?
I'm rubbish at picking the side at the moment because every time I say something, it seems to go the opposite way to what I've been thinking. I mean, it's clear that Walton, I hope I don't jinx him, it's clear he'll start with Palmer being out. Davis has been ever-present starting this season, so he'll be left back. And you imagine that Furlong will keep his right back slot. Would it be a surprise if he brought Ashley Young back in? Possibly not, but I would imagine he'll keep Furlong. O'Shea will be skipper, presumably, and I think it's on a knife edge, really, a 50-50 on Kipre or Greaves. I remember at the KOA live pod, Ross, I was the only person in the room who wanted Greaves to start over Burgess at the time, and everybody else was like mocking me. And now we're having the same debates over Kipre and Greaves. With Greaves being a Hull lad and my dad being a Hull supporter, I think I've probably got a bit of a soft spot for him because I saw him play for Hull quite a few times and always liked him. And like I said before, he's, last August, he was one of our best players when he first came to Portman Road, and then he had his injury and it hasn't quite happened. I think he's got the makings of being a really good player, but he's just got that error in him at the moment. So I'd probably stick with Kipre if I'm being honest. It sounds like I'm being a bit hypocritical, but Kipre didn't do much wrong on Saturday for me. And that gives that solid same back four or back five. Matasiwa has to start, doesn't he? And you would imagine Philogene will start. I mean, there'll be some people talking about Jack Clark deserving his chance, but for me, I would probably start with Philogene, and then the places I haven't named are the ones that are really up for grabs for me. I think I would start McAtee on the right and leave Egley on the bench this time. McAtee needs to have a bit of a chance. He hasn't even got off the bench the last few weeks. He might be the one who comes in for me. I would probably play Taylor alongside Matasiwa because I thought they both did well. I thought Taylor was actually one of the best outfield players on Saturday. Matasiwa was a little bit off it for me, but he's definitely one of my favourite players, and I think he's been overall so far. He will definitely start. I'd probably leave Jens on the bench, and I'd probably go with Steve's shout of starting Nunes in the 10 for this game. I don't like us criticising our players too much, or certainly the boos, but Hurst for me is not on form and doesn't look confident at the moment. So I'd probably start Azon up front and give Hurst a run off the bench. That would probably be my starting team. Yeah. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, Steve. Yeah, far away. Any other changes?
Not a huge amount. I think I have a feeling that he might play Greaves just because Kone's big and pacey, and he has a little bit of a horses for courses sort of look at. He's done that with Edmondson and he's done it with Burgess previously, where he'll flip people out for certain targets. So when we played Hull, Burgess or somebody out, Edmondson played just to mark up against Delap. Maybe he'll go with Greaves just on that basis of his pace over Kipre's pace. Could be enough to tip it. And I think probably play Caduceus had 2 matches out of the starting lineup. So I would fancy probably flip him back in, but you're quite right. Taylor was probably one of our best players on Saturday, in my opinion. It sort of, I thought he was great all round, getting forward and getting back, and he had a lot of energy. And I think you're probably right. McAtee will probably play right. It's a little bit more solid on the right-hand side, and that's probably what you're probably going to go with away from home. Start with that rather than so regularly sort of playing there in this match. I think probably personally I would play Nunes in that 10 sort of role where he can drop back into an 8. And if they want to go to 3 in centre midfield, they can. If not, he can have just free run between that area. And I think I agree with you as on probably up top. Hopefully that's the match in which he breaks his duck. He's had a lot of poor luck with hitting the post and keeper saving and, sort of Clark scoring, but he's contributing, and that's got to be sort of in his mind. It's not that he's not contributing; he's actually making valuable contributions. And also, I think teammates aren't finding his runs. He's actually looking for some really good angles, but nobody's actually delivering the ball for him to run onto. Whether they're delaying it too long, or they're just not used to that style of striker to actually make runs in behind. That's what he's looking to do, but he's just not getting that run-in option.
I think if you're starting Núñez, I think Núñez is the sort of player who would pick out those runs possibly more so than, I know, Akpom, we don't know 100% about Akpom, but we think he's unlikely to be fit. And Schmeichel is certainly out. So I think if Núñez does start in the 10, I thought, although they were playing against tired legs, I thought Núñez and Azon seemed to have a bit of more of an understanding of potential blend there. So that might be quite an interesting combination.
Yeah, you have that language element as well.
Yeah.
The two can speak in Spanish to each other, where you're not having to sort of think and listening to instructions in English on the pitch. It particularly with a lot of noise around you, you could actually, that might well help the two of them settle as well. Because Núñez is settling, but he hasn't given his Norwich form yet. So, it's about getting everybody into that sort of zone.
You know what? More I think about it, boys. Oh, God, John, sorry.
Sorry, Ross, I didn't mean to talk across you there. I was just saying, I wonder if presumably Akpom is out for at least a week or two, I wonder if we see Humphreys on the bench for the first time to give a bit of versatility as cover, because he could play the 10. I know McKenna's not played him in the 10, but he did play there last season when he was out on loan, didn't he? So
he did.
I'm not saying he should come in and start in a 10, but he could certainly be on the bench as an option there.
Yeah, you're right. His best games for Wycombe were in the attacking role, and maybe it's 2-2, but he got the under-21 game under his belt sort of last weekend as well. So, maybe, who knows? But you're probably right there. It's because there will be a spot on the bench anyway if you lose Roddick and Akpom. So he'd be a wise point. Yeah,
big chance for him to get involved. The more you guys talk though about, and especially you, John, mentioned Ivan starting, I'm putting him down as my first goal scorer. I'm gonna get predictions underway. I think on the predictions show we did a few weeks back, I put this down as a defeat for some reason. I don't know. I just thought QPR bogey team, stuff like that, bogey around and all that. I just thought, this will be one game we'll just lose annoyingly. But that was before the Charlton game and other things. But I think this could be a draw though. I don't know. I think this could be just one of those frustrating games. I want us to win away from home. I don't know if this will be it. I know it's negative, guys, but that's just how I'm feeling about it right now. But I think, maybe 1-1, Ivan Azon to get a goal. What do you reckon, boys? Steve, John, I know you sort of mentioned yours, John, but have you got one, in your mind? You're going to put it down on the paper?
Leif Davis. He's going to get the first goal. Let's go 2-1. Davis first goal.
Nice. I like it. Steve, what do you reckon?
I kind of go along with you 2-1. Back in my mind, it'll be a draw, but maybe Núñez with a free kick, 2-1.
I like it. Yeah, obviously I want to predict Town to win. I always want the Blues to win, but I don't know. I just think 1-1. David, to be fair play to David. He's gone 1-1 as well. Colin's gone 2-1 Ipswich. So that's the scoreline of choice. But we shall see. Quick question here from Peter Michael. Do you think McAteer could come good with Ipswich, boys? Because he's had a bit of a struggle, doesn't he? But I don't think he's had much opportunity. He's had a few times where he started. But as we wrap up the fan social, just your quick thoughts on him, boys.
Yeah, I think he has to not necessarily come good, but he hasn't given the best account or a true account of himself yet. I saw him play against us for Leicester, and he was certainly a better player against us than I've seen him play for us so far. So whether he's just had a little bit of a knock or whether he's just had found the move challenging, or it just hasn't quite happened for him yet. I think if you've been critical, you look and think, we're kind of waiting for Wes Burns to come back. Yet we spent money on Ogbene, and we spent money on McAtee, and we spent a lot of money on Egley, and none of them, Ogbene's obviously been sent out on loan. None of them, that must be best part of 40 million there. And none of them have grabbed it yet, have they? So the shirt's there, the place in the team's there to be grabbed by whoever wants it. And let's see Casey have his opportunity. I certainly, I remember seeing him play against us both home and away last season, and I thought he was a decent player. So let's see. Let's see where it takes us. I hope he comes good. I hope he gets competitive and works. He works hard. He just needs one of the runs to be picked up, he's had a couple of half chances when he perhaps could have scored as well, and one of those goes in, and suddenly he's feeling relaxed and he's walking differently. So let's hope he can nick a goal and get a start and get a goal at some point, and then maybe his Town career kicks on from there.
Yeah, I'm sure. You reckon that's where, Steve?
Yeah, I think he will. Did he score against us last season at Leicester? I think he did, didn't he? Then, and so he did look good. Leicester fans a bit critical of him when he left. That you won't get an awful lot out of him. Hasn't shown a huge amount yet, but it's that thing about your contribution. I don't quite know what his role is, because he's the more solid one on the right. That of the options that you've had, we've played Clark or Philogene on the right, and you've had Egley, but actually he's the one who sort of seems to track back and support his right back a little bit more. So maybe that is his role. I don't know, to offer a bit of solidity in certain matches, which is why I think he might play on Saturday. But yeah, I do hope he does, because he sort of puts the effort in. He does make the effort. Making that change to a new side, new system, new style. You just got to get used to it, I suppose. It's a bit like a lot of them, that your new players into this, and nobody on that right hand side has actually stamped their print on it, and we haven't actually seen anybody say, I own this right wing, because we've had all four of them play on the right wing at one point or another, and nobody has actually stood out in the way that Philogene has done on the left hand side. So yeah, time will tell, but hopefully he will.
Yeah, definitely, boys. But yeah, nice little question there to end the KOA Fans Social. John, Steve, thanks for joining me. I won't ask you for any other business, just in case you do, and we speak for even more longer. But no, thanks for joining me, boys. Of course, it's always good to chat to you and the KOA Army, getting their thoughts on Ipswich Town. If you're listening after the show on audio, we're live every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Every other Wednesday. It really depends. If we've got a midweek game, we won't be live. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed listening. If you're going to the game, enjoy it. If not, follow coverage of us. We'll be there. Of course, shout out to our sponsors, Molecular. Still can't say it properly. And Stardust Spirits, two local Suffolk companies supporting the podcast. And also, a big mention, KOA Live 3 is potentially going to be in the books for December the 20th for the Sheffield Wednesday game, after the Sheffield Wednesday game at the Baths. So ticket details will be out there shortly for you. Make sure to join us for our big Christmas party, because KOA Live 2 was great fun, and we're hoping to make it even bigger for KOA Live 3. But yes, if you haven't already, follow us on all the socials at Kings of Anglia. But thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time. John, Steve, thanks for joining me.